What's going on? Welcome into Wager Talk's Last Call. I'm Meghan Payton. This is the show that gets you involved. It's YouTube live comments, all directed by you all. I promise I'm just the talking head. You all facilitate it, and we have the best handicappers to break down NBA, March, crazy madness, NHL, MLS, soccer, everything and everything. We have Jimmy Adams, Steve Merril, and Carmine Bianco joining us this Saturday morning. And we've got crazy March Madness action. I mean, we thought it was nuts yesterday when the 13th seed Furman beats 4th seed Virginia. Then we thought it was crazy when 15th seed Princeton beats 2nd seed Arizona. And I think all of us lost our mind last night when FDU pulled off the biggest upset in March Madness history, knocking off 1st seed Purdue. Purdue was minus 10,000 on the money line. So any people that got their money on FDU, shout out to you. The brackets are all screwed. I don't have a good bracket anymore. I had Purdue in the Final Four, but it's okay. This is why we love March Madness, and we can expect to see some crazy action this afternoon. 8 teams will move on to the Sweet 16. Don't forget about NBA. Still 8 games on the slate for the association. Carmine's going to break down some NHL games, and soccer is always available. Let's start off with Steve Merril, who's going to talk some March Madness. Reminder, everyone, get in the comments any questions that you have, any bets that you're looking. We've got the experts here to tell you if you're right or if you're wrong and to argue with your opinions. Steve Merril, thank you very much for joining us this Saturday morning. You've been killing it as of late. You've got a 5% tournament best bet today. You won like yesterday, I believe. In the NBA and college basketball side, you're plus 108. 35 units in the last 2 years. What do you have going on at Wager Talk this week?
Yeah, I had a nice winning Friday, Megan, on St. Patrick's Day for all the Irish people and everybody else out there. But actually, I've got a very strong play going. I've got 5 best bets again today on Saturday. But more importantly, I've got my one and only 5% best bet of this NCAA tournament. In fact, it's only the second time the entire basketball season I've released a 5% play. That's going all the way back to when the NBA started in October. I've only had one 5% best bet in college and pro combined. It was an easy double-digit winner earlier this season. And now I'm releasing just my second of the basketball season. It goes tonight on Saturday, so everyone has plenty of time to check it out right now. A strong 5% best bet is part of that 5-game package for Saturday. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com.
Steve, we're going to break down some March Madness action. How's your brackets doing? I mean, are we okay after yesterday's slate?
Yeah, I've released a bracket to all the clients at Wager Talk earlier this week, and I'm still alive with all my Final Four. In fact, my sleeper pick, I guess you can call him a sleeper, was Duke to get there. So Purdue going down was actually
Ooh.
big, knocking the number one out of that region. A huge game this afternoon. I'm not involved in the Duke Tennessee game for my clients, but Duke's currently about a 3.5 point favorite. So feeling pretty good about that. I'm thinking you have a very good chance that Duke can get there now. They looked really good, obviously, on Thursday against what I thought was a dangerous Oral Roberts team. So, yeah, the Purdue upset was actually good for me, I guess, big picture. And then didn't have Arizona either in the Final Four, so Princeton beating them didn't hurt as well.
Duke with the big win against Oral Roberts. They will now take on Tennessee. I like Duke as your Final Four upset. Purdue is out, screwing up a lot of people's brackets, but a team that is in that I also have in my Final Four is UCLA. They take on 7th seed Northwestern today. Tip off at 8:10 p.m. Eastern, 8:40 that is Eastern. UCLA is minus 7.5. The total's at 125. Both teams seem to cruise through their first round matchups. They relied so by using their defense. One concern I have, Jalen Clark out for UCLA. It didn't seem to matter in the first round. It might matter in this matchup. What are you predicting in this game?
Yeah, Megan, I've got UCLA in my Final Four as well. That's another team I've got in the Final Four, so I'm with you on that one. And one thing I like about UCLA, well, there's several things I like, is first of all, they're the best defensive team in the country. Defensive adjusted efficiencies, they're number one out of 363 teams. And they were underseeded at number two. In fact, if you look at the current KenPom rankings, it's Houston 1, UCLA 2, and then the number one overall seed, Alabama, is only third. They're actually behind UCLA. This is a really good Bruins squad, and I liked them a lot on Thursday. Had a strong best bet winner for my clients at wagertalk.com on them over a weak North Carolina Asheville team. I think it's a good spot to back the Bruins again because I'm not big on this Northwestern squad. If you told me earlier in the season that a team in the Big Ten that shot less than 41% for the season would make the NCAA tournament, I wouldn't think that was the case. And I definitely wouldn't think that was the case. They'd make it to the round of 32. This is a really weak offensive team in Northwestern. So they got to get it done with defense as well. But UCLA is a good offensive team. They're a great defensive team. I just don't see Northwestern scoring in this one. Now, my power ratings only favor UCLA by 7 in this game. So the current line of 7.5 is a little pricey, especially in what should be a low scoring game with a total of 126.5. So I do lean UCLA, but the more I look at it, the safest play is probably Northwestern team total under 59. A team that shoots just 40.5 for the season against the best defense in the country. It's hard to imagine they're going to have much offensive success. So I think Northwestern under 59 team total points is probably the best way to play this tonight on Saturday.
Yeah, Steve, this might be a rough, slow paced, but kind of ugly matchup. I like UCLA winning here. There are tons of comments coming in the YouTube live chat. Keep them coming because Steve's here to break them down. Then we're going to have Jimmy Adams talk a little bit more about March Madness. And then Carmine, as always, breaking down NHL soccer. So blow up the chat. We're trying to get through these as quick as possible. Nick from NYC says, Steve, Kansas minus 3.5, last leg on my 6-game parlay. What do you make of that? By the way, Kansas now minus 4.5. So if you got in at 3.5, I think that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, well, first of all, if he's got 5 right, he only needs 1 more. I would probably hedge a little bit. So if he's got Kansas minus 3.5, as you said, Megan, it's now pretty much 4 across the board. You could come back, put a little bit of a hedge at Arkansas plus 4, and maybe even side that game, and also hedge a bit of a profit, lock it in there. I actually think the over is worth a look here. We've seen the total drop a few points from 145.5 down to 143. I think it'll be a high scoring game. I'm not huge on Kansas big picture. I do not have them in my final 4. But this is a low price game. But once again, on that parlay, I think I'd probably hedge it. Lock in a profit, play Arkansas plus 4 for a little bit of a buyback, and you could still catch a side and still go 5-0-1. Or at worst case, lock up a profit if Kansas doesn't get it done.
Steve, we're going to roll right into the next one. Vegas is saying, hey, Steve, I saw your Fade the Public video yesterday. Do you still feel like fading Penn State? Does Texas humble them? That tips off at 7:45 p.m. Eastern. Texas, second seed, Penn State, 10th.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I did wager talk today on Thursday, and the free play I gave it on that show was Texas A&M over Penn State. It wasn't an official best bet, but a game I was close to using. And luckily, I kind of kept it off the best bet card because obviously A&M got pommeled. But it was more of a play against Penn State for me. And what I mentioned in that analysis was that they had to make a real run through the Big Ten basically over the last week and a half. 2 weeks ago, they were not in the tournament. They were like the third out, according to Lenardi, and then they become a solid 10 seed, and that's because they won 4 out of 5 as an underdog. Thought it was a flat spot coming in. The problem was A&M had just played Alabama, and they were even more flat. I don't think that'll be the case tonight. I think this is a good spot for Texas, who's one of the best teams in the country, and I do think Penn State's run comes to an end this evening.
Steve, this is so fun. I got to be honest. March Madness might be the best time for any sports fans because it's the craziest time to bet. We're going to go right into Drabaka 42. What do you all think about Furman money line? I kind of like this. Furman plays a little bit later today at 12:10 p.m. East or 12:10 a.m. or p.m. Eastern. God, San Diego State, which is a 5th seed. I like Furman winning this one. San Diego State minus 4.5. Your thoughts here, Steve?
Yeah, Megan, you're like you said, we're less than an hour away from tip off. And as I look right now at the Wager Talk live odds screen, both of the early games are lighting up like a Christmas tree right now. We've seen some money come in on Furman. They just dropped literally 30 seconds ago from 5.5 down to 5. And we've also seen that second game in Orlando light up between Duke and Tennessee, this time on the total. 2-point drop, a heavy, sharp money move within the last minute just came in on the under in the Duke Tennessee game. So we'll dig into that a little bit more. I had a best bet on Furman against Virginia on Thursday. I thought they were a definite live dog in that game. Wasn't looking good early, but then Virginia went cold offensively. Furman hit some threes, obviously the huge turnover late. But what's interesting is Furman was the much better offensive team. If you looked at the efficiency rankings, Virginia was around, I think, 77th. Furman was 33rd. Same situation here. San Diego State's like in the mid 70s. Furman's in the low 30s. So very similar matchup to that Virginia game, which Furman just won. So I see no reason why they can't keep this one close, be a live dog once again.
Yeah, Furman showed that they're able to beat these defensive teams, slow-paced teams. It's not going to be any different with San Diego State. I will say the kind of awe of winning the biggest game in school history, that is something
Yeah.
that concerns me as they go up against a San Diego State team that's a little bit more at ease, ready to go. One last question for you, Steve, before we let you go. Chip says, Stevie boy, are we on Auburn or not? Can they take down the first seed Houston?
Yeah, I think this is actually a dangerous spot for Houston. Look, I've got Houston in my finals. I thought them and Alabama were the two best teams coming into the tournament. I mentioned Duke, UCLA as well in the Final Four. So it's not like I don't like this Houston squad, but I did not like what I saw against a bad Northern Kentucky team. Really struggled in that game. They didn't look good against Memphis last week. They're still banged up. This line dropped from 7 to 5.5. The reports came out yesterday. The key players are going to play. I don't think they're fully healthy if they do. I do think Auburn is a live dog in this game. This is a dangerous spot for Houston, and I'm not a huge fan of Auburn. I just think Houston just doesn't look quite right now.
Steve Merrill, we appreciate you breaking down all the craziness that March Madness brings. You have a 5% play up at wagertalk.com. Go over there, get Steve's plays. He's been doing fantastic, plus 108.35 in units the last 2 years. You also have a 7-day package. That is correct?
Yeah, right now, a promo code I've been giving out on the Fade the Public videos only, but I wanted to mention it here on the show. If you get any 7-day pass and you use promo code Bracket25, you get an instant $25 discount at checkout. I do have my Saturday Fade the Public video up right now here on Wager Talk TV, so check that out after this show. And then later this evening, I'll have a Sunday edition as well. And once again, if you want that strong 5% best bet, only the second one I've released all season, it's available for Saturday along with 5 best bets overall. But get that 7-day pass and use promo code Bracket25 for an instant $25 discount. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
Steve Merrill, enjoy your Saturday. Thank you for breaking down all the games in the slate today. Good luck. Cash some bets. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Megan.
Next up, we're going to bring on Jimmy Adams to keep the March Madness conversation going. But I want to ask you guys, let's do something different while we break down these games. I want everyone to go into the YouTube live chat right now and give me your dog of the day. This is what the madness is about. We can predict the teams that we think are going to win, blah, blah, blah. I want your craziest dog. We'll get Jimmy Adams' take on it, whether or not he agrees. But let's bring in Jimmy. Jimmy, you've been fantastic this season. 62% the last 63, 5% plays. You had another winner yesterday. What do you have up at Wager Talk today?
Yeah, Megan, thanks for having me as always. Up and down so far in March Madness, but one thing that has been gold is those 5% plays. I have a 4%er that probably should have been a 5%er, but since we won one yesterday, I didn't want to fire another one off. But a game that I really like today and a free play that I will get into today on the show.
Jimmy, let's get right into your game of the day. And then you probably heard me as I was introing you. We're having all of the people in the comments, all the audience members give their dogs of the day. We're going to get your thoughts on whether you agree or disagree. It's going to be kind of a keep it or pass it situation, but you're looking at a game where we did see a big upset yesterday. That's Furman versus San Diego State. San Diego State is a 5.5 point favorite. The total's at 137. This one tips off in just about an hour. We were mentioning this with Steve. I believe that Furman showed that they can play well against a defensive team, a slow paced team against Virginia, and San Diego State shouldn't be any different. The one thing is, can they calm down these nerves? Can they prepare themselves and be ready? Short game. I mean, short rest week. You don't really have much time in between. Do you think Furman gets it done against San Diego State today?
So I'm actually going to go the other way here, and I'm going to look to San Diego State first half. I don't want to be laying a bunch of points with the Aztecs, but I think they dominate this game from the jump. So the stars have kind of aligned here for San Diego State to make the Sweet 16 after a bad pass by Virginia in the final seconds. Furman has a great offense, and they've had an extremely successful season in the SoCon, but I'm going to pretty much throw out all those stats. They're about to face a defense unlike any they've seen, minus the Virginia
Yep.
game. I understand Virginia's got a great defense, so we can save the comments there. But this Aztec squad, 27th in the country in overall scoring defense, allowing just 63.4 points per game, sixth in defensive 3-point percentage. And Furman has absolutely no chance to out rebound this team. And there's something to be said about the toughness that the Aztecs bring as well. San Diego State, an extremely tough team, and no one tougher than Nathan Mensah, right? He just won Defensive Player of the Year for the second consecutive season in the Mountain West. And the Aztecs just shut down one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the entire nation in Utah State to win the Mountain West Tournament Championship. Also won the regular season, obviously. Furman's strength, not on the defensive side. So there are going to be scoring opportunities for a San Diego State team that isn't necessarily known for their offense, like you mentioned. But Matt Bradley, and it'll be um, there's going to be it's going to need to be a team effort from offense. I guess is what I'm saying on the San Diego State side. But look, Furman 207th in points per game allowed, 232nd in defensive field goal percentage, and they don't defend the 3-point line either. And remember, these numbers can't come mainly against teams from the SoCon. The Aztecs made it harder on themselves than they needed to in the win over Charleston, but they're going to absolutely own the interior in this game. I like the Aztecs first half -3 to dominate as Furman comes down off their big win and gets eliminated probably.
That's another way to kind of approach this hype that we'll call it. A slow start potentially for Furman. Whether they get it done at the end is up for debate, but I like that play. San Diego State -3 for the first half. Christopher in the comments says, Jimmy, who do you think will just win on Saturday and Sunday? So we're not talking spread, just money line here.
Just money line here. So I have a client play on the Duke Tennessee game side, so got to pass on that. Arkansas is an interesting game, right? Because they can really get it done with their athleticism and length on the defensive side. The problem is that they can't shoot the three ball at all and have trouble scoring at times. So I would look towards the under there. Um, but I think they're live against Kansas here. Running down Princeton, Missouri, another interesting game because Princeton's a tough team, right? Like they're not very big, but they out rebound their opponents by, I believe, over 6 rebounds per game. I'll go ahead and say Missouri gets it. They generate offense defensively. They force turnovers on about 15% of opponents' possessions. So I'll go ahead and say Missouri uh, gets the straight up win there. Houston's going to get by Auburn, but if you're playing the side, you want to take Auburn. Houston dealing with those injuries to their 2 key players, obviously. And then Texas, a game that I really like because you're looking at a similar situation to the game they just played, right? They just played Colgate, one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the nation. Penn State, also one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the nation. And Texas, just absolutely dominated Colgate. They wanted to force them to take tough 2-point shots, and that's exactly what they did. They're going to have a similar strategy here. It's going to be hard for Penn State to hang around. UCLA, one of the most underrated teams in the nation because they play on the West Coast, but defensively, top notch. And yeah, I think Northwestern's got no shot here. Bama's going to win. And if you want me to keep going, I can. But those are my thoughts for today, anyway, Megan.
Well, Jimmy, we have tons of dogs in the channel right now. We're going to have you either take them or pass them. But Money Channel first wants to get your thoughts on a parlay. Tigers in Texas. Do we like this combination?
Yes. So,
Oh,
money
money line.
line. Okay.
He wants to do a money line parlay.
Okay. So we're looking at Auburn and Texas.
We're looking at, I believe he wants to do Missouri, right? Yeah. So he's saying Missouri. He
Missouri.
wants to do Missouri and Texas.
Okay. Yeah. I absolutely love that money line parlay. I told you my thoughts on Texas. How they're going to shut down Penn State just like they did against Colgate by forcing them to take tough twos. And then Missouri, yeah, Missouri's going to get away with the win here. Princeton, they're a tough team, but Missouri, running through the SEC and speeding up teams defensively. They're going to speed up your offense, make it tough on the offensive side. We just saw that against Utah State. Utah State's not a bad team, and their coach just came out and said, yeah, they really speed us up offensively. And no one better efficiently and from the 3-point line than the Aggies. They force their opponents to turn the ball over on 15% of possessions, like I mentioned. So I do like the Tigers to win straight up, and I love Texas to win straight up. So I'd agree with that play.
Jimmy Adams, we appreciate you coming on here so much, talking about all the madness that is in March, giving us some best bets, giving us some free plays. You've been fantastic. Go and make sure you check out Jimmy at wagertalk.com. 62%. The last 63, 5% plays. He had another winner yesterday. You can find all of his stuff at wagertalk.com. Thank you very much, Jimmy. Enjoy your Saturday.
Thanks, guys.
And I'm loving the dogs of the day that we're seeing. We've got Princeton plus 6.5 as my dog. I'd love to see Princeton keeping this thing rolling. I've seen Penn State should keep it close. I saw a little bit of Furman in the comments. Someone said they got Tennessee. This is crazy, and everything you really can't say anything wrong. I see there's a little bit of argument going on in the YouTube live chat, but that's expected when we're talking March Madness. Auburn, the dog of the day against Houston. You could get that plus 195 money line. My theory is if you're really strong about a dog, just go all in and bet them on the money line. There's going to be some sharper angles where you want to take sides, spreads, whatever. But if you like a team, just because, go ahead and take it. Penn State for the win. I'm telling y'all, LDS. Let's switch gears here for a sec. I love the comments that we're getting with March Madness, but Carmine Bianco is here to break down NHL, any soccer questions you have. So start thinking about some of the other sports that are happening right now because it's not just March Madness. You can get great value on some of these other teams. Carmine here to break it down. How are you, Carmine? You've been doing fantastic. 15-5 this week in NHL, 9-3 and 5% NHL all year. How are you? And what do you have at wagertalk.com?
Hey again, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been a good month. It's been a really good week, as you mentioned. 15-5 with NHL, 9-2. The last couple of nights, a mixture of sides, totals, player props. They seem to all be hitting, which is always a good thing. And a good March so far in soccer, 33, 19, and 3. So I'm hoping to keep that ball rolling much longer. But as far as Wager Talk, there was some soccer plays that were up earlier. They're in play right now. I'm going to have some MLS plays for later on, but NHL 5 plays up right now for tonight with the first game, the puck dropping on the first game at 5 p.m. today. And this game that I'm going to discuss today, I just added it as a client play, so you'll know that this free play is actually one I've got money on and my clients have gotten.
Carm, you have two promo codes right now up at wagertalk.com, one for soccer, for NHL. Tell the audience what they need to use and how they can get this discounted promo.
Yeah, the for NHL, obviously there's still a full month of NHL left, plus the NHL playoffs, which will start in mid-April and usually go till June. That package is $299, but if you use the code CARM 199, you get $100 off that. So basically, it's $199 for the next 2 months of NHL, right to the Stanley Cup Finals. And as far as soccer goes, normally the 90-day package is $499, but with the code ST200, you can get $200 off that. So 90 days of soccer for essentially $100 a month, and that'll take you through the rest of the domestic league seasons in Europe and the 3 big tournaments that are going on: Champions League, Europa League, and Europa Conference League. So there is a ton of action and some MLS as well too, up until up for the next 90 days at the very least.
I've learned so much from you too, just from a general standpoint of how to approach betting on MLS, betting on soccer. So if anyone's new, don't be intimidated. Carm really can help you start to become more knowledgeable in betting on soccer or NHL. One game that he's going to be looking at in NHL is the Montreal Canadiens at Tampa Bay Lightning. This one puck drops at 7:05 Eastern. Lightning's minus 345 on the money line. The total's at 6.5. The Lightning's coming off 2 wins, a big one a couple days ago, and Montreal lost to the Panthers just recent. What is the approach in this one? You've been so good in totals. Are we eyeing a total here?
Yeah, that last Montreal game was a sight to behold. They lose 9-5 to the Florida Panthers, and there was 10 goals scored in that first period. I think it was 7-3 at the end of the first period. Uh, while I don't expect tonight's game to be a 9-5 game, I can take Tampa Bay at that price. It's just way too high, and even the puck line is too high at this point. I'm looking at the total here, and I think there's enough very strong numbers to want to take the over in this one. You have, as you mentioned, Tampa Bay coming home off of a 2-game sweep in New Jersey against a very tough Devils side. They scored 4 goals in each of those games. And the Devils are one of the better home defensive teams in the Eastern Conference. So that's a pretty big feat in itself. And they weren't in great form heading to New Jersey, so it could signal a turnaround for this team. They come home and they really don't need much to beat this Montreal team. They've lost 8 of their last 9. They've allowed in those 8 losses, they've allowed 38 goals, which is an average of where is it here? I think it's 4.75 goals per game that they're allowing during those losses. And you have a Tampa team that not only has the seventh best scoring offense at 3.47 goals per game, but at home it's even better. It's a half goal higher at home. They average 4 goals per game at home. Obviously, I'm looking at the total in this one, but the goalies come into this with Vasilevsky having played those games in New Jersey. It's Brian Elliott confirmed to start. He's allowed 13 goals in his last 3 games, 12 of them in 2 of the games to Pittsburgh and Buffalo. He only allowed 1 last time out against Chicago, who have pretty much gotten rid of all their offensive talent, anyways. And for Montreal, it's Samuel Montembeault. He was in net in that Florida game. He got pulled after allowing 3 quick goals in the first period and came back in later on. But um, he has allowed where is it here? Um, Sorry, 8 of his last 9 games. The games have gone over the total. He's just I have it here somewhere. His goals against average hasn't been great, but in 8 of his last 9 starts, they've gone over the total. The games have averaged 8.75 goals per game with him between the pipes. This should be a Tampa victory and a lopsided one. So you can't really take the puck line. You can't really take Tampa Bay because I have a juice tolerance and I just would never lay those prices. The total is the best price here. And I think the fact that Brian Elliott has now been named as a starting goalie, that just happened as we went to air for this show. The juice on this play is going to go up. It's at 6 minus 120. I've seen it go to 125 and 130 at some books. Could very well get to 7. So if you want this total, take it now before it hits 7.
Good call there. And Carmine, you're really good at breaking down shots on goal props. There's one that you might have a lean on. Is it a play? Tell us where you're looking in this matchup.
Yeah, this is one that I like, and it's in the exact same game. It's Nikita Kucherov over 3.5 shots on goal, minus 115. Now, over 3.5 seems like a lot, but he's one of the more active players obviously for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Prior to these 2 games in New Jersey, which I wouldn't have bet his shot props in New Jersey because New Jersey is the 4th best team as far as allowing the fewest shots on goal. So you never want to take a player in those type of games. But prior to these last 2 games where he had 2 in each game against New Jersey, he had gone over this number of 3.5 in 8 of his last 9 games, going 8-1. And if you look a little further in that one game, it was a game in which they went to Detroit and were outshot in that game, 45-18. So no shot props for any Tampa Bay player hit in that game. That was just a game in which Detroit pretty much dominated the game, but still lost that game 3-0. So you have to sort of delve into the ones of why didn't he go over in the game, and it was a great defensive performance by the Red Wings. So I love this one to go over. So I'm taking Nikita Kucherov over 3.5 shots on goal. And you're laying minimal juice at 115. Shot props are normally in that minus 135 to 155 range. So getting 115 on this one, I think, is a great price.
Carm, we're going to break down some YouTube live comments. Lots of questions for you. Drabaka42 says, Carmine, will the Stars bounce back tonight versus the Flames? Flames on a 1-game win streak. Dallas has lost 2 in a row.
Uh, it's a tough one because these 2 teams do not like each other. And, the crazy thing about these teams is when they meet in last year's playoffs, they win 7 games. I think the final game 7 was a 1-0 win. But the 2 games this year have been a polar opposite of how that 7-game series was played. Calgary has won both games in Dallas 6-5 and 5-4. Uh, so you would think this could be another high scoring game. I think at some point these teams have to revert back to playing better defensive hockey. Uh, Dallas is obviously looking to bounce back off that loss to the Oilers, and sometimes it's a trend of when any team does that Alberta double, where they go to Calgary and then Edmonton, or vice versa. When they lose the first one, they normally lose the second. If they win the first one, they win the second. We've seen teams sweep or be swept in that situation. And the Flames, I had the Flames last time out in Vegas. I thought it was a fantastic spot to fade Vegas off that 5-game road trip, and Calgary wins that game 7-2. The Flames are on the outside looking in playoff wise right now. Dallas is in a playoff spot. This game has more importance to the Flames. Doesn't mean they're going to win based on that alone, but I like how they responded to that loss against Arizona by beating Vegas handily, and I think they do it again against the Dallas Stars tonight, albeit not handily. I think it's a low-scoring game and maybe one of those 3-1 Calgary victories.
From a potential high-scoring game, Minnesota put up 8 goals in their last matchup. Andrew says the Wild win money line on a heck of a run lately. Minnesota takes on Boston. They are a dog in this matchup, plus 130 on the money line. Your thoughts here?
Yeah, as far as total goes, total inside, it's tough for me to want to take Minnesota in this game, and Uh, it comes down to one of their best players, if not their best player, missing in this game. He's injured, which is Kirill Kaprizov. He's injured. He's not playing. The Bruins, after getting setting that record for the quickest or the lowest amount of games to get to 50 wins, then dropped a couple games, kind of a hangover. They lose to Detroit. They lose to the Chicago Blackhawks, two teams that they shouldn't lose against. But then they put in a really good performance in Winnipeg, shut them out, winning 3-0. And I think they just build off of that and go back to the Bruins that we know that they are, which is they're just having a record breaking season. I like the Bruins here, and I like the under as well too.
Under's a good play. Have you noticed, Carm, with the craziness that is March Madness and people wanting to all bet on that action, do we get softer lines in the NHL at this time?
I don't think so. One thing I think what is going to happen over the next month or so is when you've got sort of the bottom feeders of the league, we'll refer to them as teams like Chicago, San Jose, Anaheim, Montreal. Unfortunately, unless you actually think they're going to win and you're willing to take a shot on the dog, you can't bet the team they're playing against because, much like the Tampa Bay game today, the line is at minus 370 and even the puck line is at minus 190. So you've got to find other ways of betting that game. Sometimes it's the team total for the teams if you think it's going to be a higher scoring game. The lines are pretty tight. From when you look at the openers and you look at where the movement is, there haven't been a lot of games that move off the total, or sorry, that move off the opening numbers by more than 15 or 20 cents. Anything higher than 20 cents, I think the opener was a soft number, and you can sort of jump on it. Case in point, sort of looking at the live lines now, and nothing really jumps to that as far as where the openers were and where they are right now. The only one I could see is Carolina, and that's gone from minus 200 to minus 235, and that's a reaction, obviously, to yesterday. The Flyers get a win. They against the Sabres at home. Carolina comes off a loss to Toronto. And then the goalie switches. You have Freddie Anderson starting for Carolina. He did not play in Toronto. He should be their number one. And with Carter Hart starting yesterday, it's going to be Frederick Sandstrom for Philadelphia, and he's 1-10 this season. So it doesn't bode well for Philadelphia. So I can see why the Carolina money is coming in. But other than that, the numbers are pretty tight.
Carm, a question from Lemon Cake. Interesting username. Carm, Colorado over 3.5 goals versus Detroit.
I can see it. Detroit plays well in front of their fans, but they also, after making a great playoff push, they dropped, I think it was 4 or 5 in a row, and they've sort of been 50-50 since. But their wins coming against, the Chicago Blackhawks, they did surprise the Boston Bruins, but I think that was kind of a hangover game for the Bruins. They played a tight one against Nashville, but Colorado is just playing some lights out hockey right now. They've won four straight. They've won the first three on this road trip, 8-4 in Montreal. They beat the Leafs 2-1 in OT shootout, and then they score five in Ottawa, basically the next night on the second of a back to back. So while this is their third in 4 nights for them, they are making a push for top spot in the Central, behind the Dallas Stars, and a very good chance of getting there. I've got them to win the Central, so I hope they get there. I think they put up a big number against Detroit. There could be an exciting game, but a 4-3 gets you the money. 4-3 win for the Avalanche, and that is an early game today, so you might want to be on that. That's at 1 p.m. today, so it's starting in about a little over an hour and 15 minutes.
Carm, you're 15-5 in NHL this week, 9-3, 5% plays, and 6-0 in totals. We are so grateful at Wager Talk to be able to have your mastermind breaking down all of the action in hockey as well as MLS. You have two promos up at wagertalk.com. Remind everyone real quick where they can get those, and have a great rest of your weekend.
All right. I appreciate it. And thanks for having me on. The NHL one, the code is CARM199. So you head over to my page and you pick the rest of the NHL season in the drop down menu and enter that code. It'll knock $100 off. So you get the rest of the regular season and the Stanley Cup playoffs for 199, or 90 days of soccer, ST200. That'll knock $200 off that 499 price. And that's going to get you all European soccer, all the MLS soccer here in North America, of course, and the three Euro tournaments that are going on right now: Europa Conference League, the Europa League, and the Champions League as well.
Thank you very much, Carm. Good luck this weekend. That'll wrap up today's episode of Last Call here at Wager Talk. Crazy, crazy action in March Madness, NBA, NHL, you name it. We're here to break it all down. We're here every Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Stick with us. We'll be here breaking down all of the action. Good luck. Let's see some upsets in March Madness. Have a fun week. We'll catch you here next time on Last Call.